The only way to make money in the crypto market right now is by shorting. That's the reality of it. It's just been terrible. We did think that maybe we're going to see another high, but who knows when it'll come given the situation in the market, given the tariffs, given the war is not over, the war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, it's just been insane. So the economical situation isn't helping the market whatsoever, but even so, we're not in a bear market yet, at least not for Bitcoin, because for altcoins, it looks terrible. It does look like we are in a bear market, given that many of the altcoins are trading at prices that we haven't seen since 2023, to be fair. So that's one of the worries that we've got right now when it comes to altcoins. And a lot of people are just moving that capital over to memes. Nobody's buying tech tokens anymore. Usually the believers, the people that already hold bags of those tech tokens, and they think that the project is going to perform when the next real bull market returns for altcoins. But realistically, when it comes to Bitcoin, I mean, we had this dip here, when we went to 78K, then it went back up here, it popped to like 90K, and then it started dipping again with Trump tariffs. So realistically, we do have support around this area here, around 73K, 72 to 73K. So it could be dropping all the way there, and then it might bounce back up depending on the structure this takes. If the kind of structure we're seeing here is that it'll form like a head and shoulder, this might be like the left shoulder, this might be the head, and then we might see the right shoulder where it drops to this level or around this level, maybe even lower. Right? It could even drop lower. It could go to like 60K around this region here, and then it'll just like bounce back up if it does form the right shoulder, and perhaps take us to maybe 80K or so, which is not going to be great if it drops to 70K, right? It's only up 10K. But there's also the chance that it's going to bounce off this moving average here, and then it's going to continue going higher. There's also that chance too. So if we're to go by that, the moving average might get to about here. So you could say about 77K and then bounce up, but it doesn't necessarily have to do that, because given that we do have support around 73K and also around 68K here, and then we've got some more around 63, 64K. So all these areas are acting as support now for Bitcoin. So these are the areas, the realistic areas that you could expect if the market continues dumping. When it comes to the altcoins, we did have Solana here, which was performing quite well yesterday. And this was definitely a bear trap because, he was looking really bullish here with a breakout from this trend. And then we had this massive pop here, taking it to $136, only to dump with Trump's tariffs announcement straight away. And this was like a short opportunity here, or a short trader's paradise, I should say, given that a lot of people expected that the market's not going to perform well. This is likely a bear trap, and boom, there it was, So whoever traded this and shorted this, made a fortune of it, of course, depending on the leverage size. But yeah, it looks like it managed to stabilize somewhat around this area, now around $113. And what's funny is that if we look back here, if we actually go further back, let me go to the 1 hour chart here just to show you this. So if we look on the 1 hour chart here, you could see that on the 10th of March here, we did drop to around the same level that we've been at today. So, this level does act as support. It doesn't mean that we're going to be bouncing straight back up here, but it could happen, right? I'm not saying it won't. The market can always do what it wants. It's just the way that, the dump came here. This was like a sudden dump, and then we started to trade sideways. Whereas here it was like, it was already dumping. It was basically holding around here, and then boom, we crashed again and revisited this price range. So it's kind of hard to say now if we can move back up, and if we do, where are we going to get to? Like realistically, we're probably going to get to about $122 here. If we do get to it, it's not that much to go. It's only $7. So it's not a huge gain. But again, for long traders, scalping, this is okay-ish. But it's hard to say if we'll continue to go higher, because although it does look okay-ish here, does look like we want to go back up, it's kind of tough because we do have a lot of bearish momentum on Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin keeps on pushing down, it's going to take Solana down with it. So yeah, I mean, if I was to take a guess here, I would say there is probably a 60% chance that this could revisit higher prices here, maybe to around $122. Just because we did have this support area around here and we bounced back up, but it doesn't necessarily mean this has to follow the same trend. It could just mean that it'll go up a bit, and then boom, continue further down. And so if it does, if we look at Solana here, let's go on the 1D chart. On the 1D chart, we can see we do have support around this area. Okay, we do have support around this area from here as well, a little bit. But other than that, like most of the other support is around $100. So we've got more support around $100. So that's where we could be seeing the price go to next, dropping another $15, right? It wouldn't be surprising if Bitcoin goes to 72, 73K. $100 for Solana is very likely, right? And then we do have some more support around $82, $83. Now, this is the area I'm personally targeting for a buy zone. I just think that this one is actually safer for some reason, just because it's been accumulating for longer. So it does look more solid. And also given that we do have quite a bit of support for Bitcoin around 73K, you know, I do think Solana has a potential to stick around $83 to $86, you know, where this last support area was back in 2022. You know, it could happen. And we did have that, we did test that support back on the 20th of January in 2024. It went to like $83 here, and then it started going up. This is when the uptrend already started. But some people may argue that we may even see those really bearish, really low prices of $50, maybe even $30. I don't think that's going to happen, right? Of course it could, but I'm just not seeing that really happen. You know, it's just Solana is a mature product by now. You know, I just don't know if it's really going to drop that much. It would mean that Bitcoin would have to have a huge pullback for Solana to see this level once again. So I just think it is unlikely. I think that, you know, we could go a bit lower, but I just don't see like the bottom really being the same bottom that we've seen in 2022 and 2023. Is just, you know, less likely in my opinion. But, you know, as it goes with the market, anything could happen, so you can never be too sure. You know, personally, like I said, I'm eyeing around $80. Of course, you know, you should always keep some capital just in case you're wrong, just in case it goes lower. You know, $30 is obviously a safer area, you know, when it comes to Solana, depending on what Bitcoin is going to do. If it goes crazy and it drops like 50K, then of course, $30 or $40 Solana is very likely then. So just be careful, because you can never be too sure. But like I said, the only thing that you can do to make money in the market right now is to short. And if you are longing, just be really careful with a tight stop, protect yourself, and also and only do it if you see the potential for it, usually on the shorter time frames, like the 1 minute, where you can do those quick scalps. So yeah, looking at the overall market, you know, it's red all across the board. And one other thing before I forget is with Solana, remember that in May, we could be seeing the Solana ETF, the Solana Spot ETF, I should say, because that is bullish, given that institutional investors can actually buy Solana. The question is, will they? Probably not right now, but it will open the doors to many. So that's another reason why I don't think we're going to see Solana revisit those levels from 2023 of like $30. It just makes it seem less likely, given that there's a lot more adoption for Solana. But on the other side, there's also a lot more circulating supply. So you got to balance things out and see, you know, what could be more realistic here. Of course, nobody can predict the future, but all we can do is go by what we're seeing, right? The development is better. The meme coin hype is kind of dying out, but then again, Solana is an ecosystem, so you can build anything on it. Like if a new trend appears, then Solana is ready to embrace that trend, and it does have the investors to back it. Of course, there are other ecosystems out there like Polkadot, like Injective, that can do that, like Near Protocol, even Cosmos. But the question is, who has the bigger investors? And in this case, we know that Solana does, and they also have the bigger backers as well, especially with the Trump administration. So yeah, this is pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think we're going to go much lower, or do you think we've pretty much bottomed? See you in the next video. Thank you for watching.